So hello guys, let's start with the C++ language. So what is C++? C++ is a general purpose programming language like we have C and C Sharp and ADA. The meaning of general purpose here is the language which is applicable to all application domains. Okay, and there are some language which is domain specific, and those languages generally includes like some standard toolboxes like MATLAB. Okay, so generally the basic programming language or the high level languages are mean to develop as for the general purpose, and they can be applicable, or they can implement all the application domains for the different application areas, development of different application areas. So C++ is a general purpose programming language with a bias towards system programming. Means some it is biased towards system programming in a sense that it can implement the hardware based applications. Okay, easily implement the hardware based application. It is better than C due to its support of data abstraction and other object-oriented programming concepts. It also supports generic programming like templates and exception handlings. Okay, so C++ is a superset of C language, which follow more functionality than C. So we can treat a C++ language. It contains all the functionality that C holds. Like C is universal, it is efficient, and it is close to the machine code. It can be portable. Along with this, it can support object-oriented programming concepts like data abstraction, data hiding, inheritance, and polymorphism. And some other extensions are also included like exception handling and templates. If we are looking at the history of C++, we see that it is an extension of C, and it is developed in 1980s by the Bajarny Stroop in the Bell laboratories. Uh, it is process of the C language by embedding some advanced capabilities for object-oriented programming. It contains the objects and object-oriented programs, and objects are the reusable software components that is more applicable for real-world applications. Okay, it is easy to understand and easy to correct and easy to modify due to the object-oriented design of the program. It also follow all the basic programming syntaxes of C language along with the object-oriented language, and sometimes it follow both. So it is a hybrid language. Now the basic of C++ environment. It consists of three parts. First is the environment, that is IDE. Other is the language and the standard library. C++ have a very rich library functions which is included in comparison with C language. The development environment include editor, preprocessor, compiling, linking, loading, and execution. Okay, these are the main phases of development environment of C++. Let us look about the one by one. So this is a basic C environment, and we can also think this as a C++ environment because both are little similar in case of the development phases. Okay, so the phase 1 include the editor. So first if you want to build any application or any program, first we have to write the program in some of the editor, and which is saved on the disk. So the C++ program is written, suppose you have written in some editor like code blocks, or you can also write in a simple notepad and save that program with some name like A, and with the extension of CPP, and save this on the disk in your computer like C drive, or on the desktop, or something somewhere on your system. Okay, so this is the editor. means you write something in any editor which is available to you, save that program and store it in your disk. Then in phase 2 is somewhat like more technical, means we have to analyze the preprocessors included in the program which is written in a.cpp. Now what are the preprocessor are some of the directives which is included in order to import some of the library functions in the program. So the preprocessor program is used the preprocessor is used to process the code which is written. Okay, and the preprocessor is also written somewhere in the disk, because these are some nothing but some library files. We also define some user defined preprocessor files. Okay, we will see when once we cover the header files or and these all concepts. Okay, then the next phase is, once the preprocessors are included in your program, the next phase, that is phase 3, is compilation. So a compiler will compile your code and convert the source code into an object code. Okay, this object code is also stored in the disk. Okay, so all these phases are stored on the disk. You can go and check whether the file is exist or not. Like you can go in the bin folder and libraries and you can check the preprocessors there. You can also go to the current directory like C desktop in order to check a.obj file. This is the object code once you compile the program. Okay, next phase is phase 4, that is linker. Link the object code with the libraries. So here the actual execution is about to take place, means after linking only, because object code is already there in your folder, and linker will understand that code, because linker will only understand the object code, and based on the files or libraries which is called in that object code, linker will add or call those libraries, and then after that it will store further. The output is stored on the disk. Then the phase of loader is came into picture. What is loader? Actually loader will put your program into the execution, and once a program is in execution, it will become a process, and the process is stored in the primary memory, or we can say RAM. Okay, so here loader will load your process into the primary memory based on the CPU availability, and once it is CPU will jump to the process, it will take each instruction and execute it, and store the new data values based on the program. So this all are the 6 basic phases of C++ or C environment, how the program is written or executed internally in the computer. Now the question is, why we require the libraries? Because a C++ program can be written using C++ keywords. Some keywords are there. What is the requirement of libraries? Actually keywords does not perform the input output operations or some high level mathematical computations or the character handlings. So hence most of the program calls to various functions contained in the C++ standard library. So standard library should be included in the compiler, and compiler remembers the name of the function that you have to call in order to import that library. Then linkers will combine that code that we have wrote as a source code with the predefined library functions. So the duty of the linker is to provide an interface between a source code and the libraries which is already defined or already known to the compiler, and then the program is executed. So let's review some of the terms. We know what is a source code. So the file which is we have a.cpp, and where the syntactical code of C++ is written is known as a source code. Now compiler is executing this source code and convert that code into the object code. We call this object code as a machine code, or the input to the linker. Then linker will link the required library functions in the object code, and provide you a executable program. And then what is the library? Library are some file containing the standard functions. Compile time is the time duration in which the program is being compiled, and the runtime is the duration in which program is executing. So these are the some of the terms which is used in any programming languages. Let's start with the simple C++ program. So C++ program start with the two directives, or we call preprocessor. One is your iostream.h and other is your conio.h. So this iostream is input output stream.h. This is one header file, and this is console input output. This is another header file. We require these header files in order to give required in order to call the required library functions. Like we have called, you can see in the program, we have called cout, which will use to put this string which is written here on the console. Okay, so cout is a function defined in iostream.h file, and through this library function we will put this string onto the console. Similarly, getch is a function which will use to hold the console. Means if you are not writing this getch, then what happens? Your output is after execution of the program, suddenly the output console window is blinks off, and you cannot see your output. So to hold your black screen, or we can say console, the getch is written here. So this getch is defined in the library conio.h, or the header file conio.h. This is also a library function. Now every program, like in C language, we have a main method. Similarly here we have a main method, and the program is written in this main method. You can write a program in main method. We are not talking about some object oriented paradigm here. We are just written a code in C++ scenario, and the scenario is somewhat similar with the C language, but the difference is the syntax. The printf is replaced by cout, and other things is remain as it is. Okay, so let's write this program into code blocks. So we are using a code block environment in order to execute all the programs of C++. Let me give you some of the brief about the code block environment. As you can see here, this is a editor, or we can say where I have to write the code. In this portion I have to write the code for the code blocks. If you want to create a project in C or C++, the project details are working in the workspace which is shown here, and the output or build log is appear in the lower screen as shown in here. And these are the three important buttons which is given to you. For build means for compilation, and to run. And if you want to build and compile both, then you can press this button. So first, because I have store this file in my desktop, first I have to execute or build or compile this file. So this file is a.cpp. I compile this file. It will create the a.o file, object file, on the same location. Okay, so see, there is a fatal error. It will say iostream.h, no such file or directory. So what is the meaning of this error? I want to make a point here. When you are using Turbo C++ IDE, you have to write .h extension with the header files. But if you are using the code blocks IDE, you are not required to write .h extension. So I just remove here .h extension from these files. Secondly, you are not required to use getch function, because in code blocks the console is already hold till you have pressed any button. So I just remove this file #include conio.h. I just require one of the header file iostream. That's it. Another thing, in code blocks, main also have a return type. A void is not always written in the code blocks. Generally the syntax would be we have to write int main and return 0 in our program. And we also mention the namespace here. Means once we are using the iostream file, we have to mention the namespace using namespace, and the namespace which is defined, in which the iostream header file is defined, is std, that is standard namespace. We have used a standard namespace, and in this namespace the iostream file header file is defined, and in this header file the cout library function is defined. Once we do these changes, let's again build the code. You can see it will compiling the code and generating the object file. Okay, there are some of the errors like stray 223 in your program. So let's correct this error and try to understand what this error actually is. Because I copy this program from my slide, so once you if you are using code blocks editor and you are copying some source code from your PDF file or from your slide or from internet or somewhere, some of the special character is also copied into your program. So you can see here the double quotes. The double quotes is a special character. It copied as a special character. So I just delete this double quote and place it again. Now it is working fine. Okay, so the idea is, if you are copying a code from somewhere, then it is mandatory, or it is suggestible that you have to rewrite that code, or if you are not want to rewrite, if the code is very large, then try to remove all the special characters from this code. Okay, try to remove all the spaces, and then again you can form the spaces. So if any special character which is not visible to you can be removed. I again compile this code. Again it will try to build object file, and now I think it is successful. Yes, it is successfully built. You can see here the program is stored in a.cpp on the desktop, and the object file is also stored on the desktop with a.o file, and this a.o file is nothing but the object file. After compilation process, object file has been built. Okay, now time to run this program. Once you run this program, a console is appeared with the message welcome to third semester, and the execution time is shown, and it will ask for press any key to continue. So that's why it is not required your header files conio.h. It already have the console to be hold. If I press any key from my keyboard, then the console is disappeared. So this is how you can compile and run your C++ program in code blocks. Now let's start with the some of the basic details about the program. So we can already see in the output welcome to third semester. Now some notation note about C++ programs. C++ is a case sensitive. Lowercase, uppercase characters are very important. All commands in C++ must be in lowercase. Okay, and the starting point is similar like in C, that is main method. This informs your compiler or interpreter that from where we have to start compiling or execution. Sorry, from where we have to start execution. So it is generally meant for the interpreters. The two braces signify the begin and end of the segments of the program, and this iostream is a header file which is a preprocessor directive, and it includes the code for the library function cout and cin. If you want to take the input from user, we have library function cin. If you want to put the output, we have a library function cout. Okay, and whatever we have to put the output, we generally place that output in the double quotes. Okay, and then put the semicolon. So this is a one statement to put the output on the console, like we have already seen in the example. So this operator is also called the insertion operator, the operator which is shown here. The this library function is defined with this operator. So this operator is passed as an input argument with this library function. Okay, So this is called the insertion operator, insert into the console, which is meaning the insert into the console. Whatever we passed at the right hand side, it is by default a string type, and it will be printed as it is on the console. So like if we write 10, then the 10 will be on the standard output stream. Similarly, if we have a variable I is equal to 10 and we want to print that variable on the console, I just write C out I and the 10 will be printed. We can have because the output is generally string based, so we can have multiple string with the concatenation. So the similarly I can write like this. If, instead of two statement, one statement will print the value of I is, and the other statement will print I means 10. We can have one statement, or we can concatenate two insertion operator with one another. So the this will print the output as the output of the value of I is 10. Okay. Now some of the escape sequences also defined in C++, like if you want to insert new line on your console, then /n is there. For horizontal tab space, /t is there. For carries return, /r. The carries return means if you write hello and your pointer is here, then the carries return will return this pointer to the starting character of the string on the console. Okay. Then we have a to alert or to insert a sound like a system bell, double slash for inserting backslash, and slash quote for double quote. Okay, these are some of the escape sequences, standard escape sequences defined in C++. Now if you want to take input in C++, then we have to write declare the variable, and cin is the library function with extraction operator. This is called extraction operator. So this write shift with cin combinedly called the extraction operator. So the definition of this write shift is changed in the C++, because it is not here a write shift, actually it is extraction, because the definition is changed. Because we generally use write shift operator with some integer or some binary values, okay, like 0, 0, 1. But here we use the write shift operator with some object of input stream class. So when a object operator is used with a user or predefined class objects, then the definition is not as we accept, means the definition is maybe changed, then only we can use this operator. So the name of this operator now here is used is defined as extraction operator. So when we want to take any input from the user, then we have to write cin with extraction operator I. So this will on the console a cursor is blinking for, and it is waiting for the user input. Okay. Similarly, we can take input for any data type. So we are not required to mention the format specifier in case of cin. Okay. So this is the richness of the C++ language. In C language we have to mention the format specifier, that what type of input we have to take. Like for integer we require %d, and for double we require, or float we require %f, for double we require ld. So these are some of the format specifier required in C language, but in C++ these format specifier is not required. We can read more than one value at a time, like in this example cin will take two values, one is integer and one is double. So let's take an example. What is to find an average of two number, we can write this code. So to header, if you are using the turbo C++ IDE, then we have to write the code like this. If we are using the code blocks IDE, we are not required to write this conio.h, we are not required to write this .h extension, and we have to use the standard namespace for my programs. So always remember this point. Now we have to find out the average of two number. Let's take two floating point number and number 1 and number 2, and then two variables sum and average. One output statement, enter the two numbers. This statement will accept two numbers, number 1 and number 2, store those value in the floating point variables, then calculate the summation number 1 plus number 2. It is stored in the sum variable, and the average we can find out average by dividing this sum by 2, and here the output cout will concatenate this string with actual variable content and then also embed a new line character. So the output would be sum is equal to, if the number given is here is 10 and 20, then the sum is formed as a 30, and the output will be sum is equal to 30. This is displayed. Then next line will be appeared, and the output will be average is equal to 15. Okay, so this is the output of this program. Now there are some of the questions which is very important, or which is very basic questions regarding C++ or any programming language. You can place the answers in the comment section, or you can give your own views about these answers of this question. The question number 1 is, what is the difference between a statement and an expression? Second question is, what is the difference between a function and a library? And the third question is, what symbol do statements in C++ ends with? Okay, so please try to give the answers to this question in the comment section. We will further continue our video series, lecture series on the C++ in the subsequent lectures. Okay, thank you very much.